Buddycast. No, don't be naughty, go meet everybody here on Buddycast.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the founder and host of Buddycast, Nick Sorensen.
It's Friday, and you know what that means. Another episode of everybody's favorite show, Buddycast. I'm your host, Nick Sorensen, and joining me today is a very special buddy. You know him from the Illusionist, the Inventor, Mr. Kevin James. How you doing today, sir?
Hey, great, Nick. Thanks for having me.
Hey, thanks for stopping on the show. It's an honor. So Mr. Inventor, I have a question for you.
Sure.
How did you get started in magic? What sparked your interest?
You know, I don't have some really interesting story. It kind of happened like every other magician, or most of them. I saw some magician come to my school in elementary school and kind of instantly knew that's what I wanted to do, and completely fell in love with it. And then actually not too far after that, Doug Henning kind of came onto the scene nationally, and that kind of sealed the deal for me right there.
Mm-hmm. So you mentioned Doug Henning, you mentioned a school magician. Are there any other magicians or illusionists that inspired you to become who you are today?
I had lots of inspirations, and I still find new inspirations today. But back in the early days, I would collect all kinds of videotape of magicians that that was on VHS. And you had to like really be prepared when a TV show was going to come on. You had to be ready to hit record on the VHS, and I was able to catch quite a few interesting magicians. Some that really, really opened my eyes and mind were Rich Yardy Jr. and Hans Moretti. Those were big guys back in the day, and they were just doing something completely different, something really exciting and a little dangerous, a little fun, and then it became really a lot of fun to study the history of magic and to really kind of dig into it and see who were the really interesting movers and shakers 100 years ago.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of history, any familiarity with Harry Keller?
Oh yeah, he was a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
He was so famous that he didn't even need his name on the poster. You just have a big picture of his face, and he became. He was at one point he was the biggest magician in the United States.
Wow.
Yeah, and he's from Erie.
Yep, that's how we know him. Our local magic and comedy club is named after him.
All right.
Yep. So you become a magician, or you start getting into magic. How did you find the opportunity with the Illusionists?
I was kind of headhunted for this job that was just going to be a 3-week contract at the City Opera House. So Brett Daniels was putting it together with a guy named Simon Painter, and so Brett, selected me from who he wanted to be on the show, and others in that opening cast were Jeff Hobson and Dan Sperry and James DeMare, Andrew Basso, this escapologist from Italy, and Brett, and it was a pretty amazing show.
Awesome. Now you mentioned a mutual buddy that we have, Mr. Jeff Hobson. What's it like working with him?
It's a joy. I mean, he's just a very funny. He's funny all the time, and you really get to know somebody when you're on a tour bus with him for 4 months. Mm-hmm. And I usually would go on right after Jeff, and it was great because I could stand in the wings and really watch the the little fine tuning that he would try every night. And that's the great part about working every night, is that you can see oh, this pause was a little longer, or he tried a new joke that he hadn't put in for 15 years or whatever, and you could just see how he handled a strange situation on stage. Sometimes he would get crazy things happening, and it's just funny to watch how a real pro can handle that situation.
Brilliant. And another mutual buddy that we have is my buddy Antonio.
Sure.
Yeah. How did I believe you were Antonio's boss at one point?
Well, for 34 years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. How'd you find the opportunity with him?
So I was living, when I first moved to California, I decided to live right between Disneyland and Knott's Berry Farm, right in the middle, so I could work both really easy. And there was another little kind of chaotic dinner theater not too far from there called Crackers. And so I got a gig there, just being a talking comedy magician and just trying new stuff all the time. And Antonio was there as a strolling kind of comedian. So he did this Charlie Chaplin character, and he was so good at it. And he would just walk around and mess with people. It was so fun. And he would just break the ice and have fun. And, he had all sorts of bits of business to do with people. And it was a great training ground for a new performer. Because they had a stage in the middle of the room. Half the room was a dinner theater, half the room was a bar, but everybody could see the stage. And the way to get to the stage was from a stairwell coming down. So you had to carry your act down this flight of stairs, share the stage with a 5-piece band, do your act surrounded 360 on the floor, and then also there was a balcony 360 surrounding you. So you had people looking down at your act from above. So you really had to be really careful about what material you chose. It had to be kind of bulletproof. And half the people were drunk from the bar, and the other half were bringing their friends there to celebrate their birthday. So they were rowdy, and they also had waiters and waitresses that would just climb up onto the stage and sing a song or whatever. So they were kind of like singing waiters and that kind of a thing. And it was just a place to let loose and have fun, and everybody was drunk. So just a really tough crowd. You know what I mean? You really had hecklers all the time, and you really just had to learn how to power through it. But anyway, I met Antonio there, and he was doing this strolling stuff. And I was watching him, and I realized, he just connected with people so quickly. He would walk up to a table, and just boom, they fell in love with him and the character. And he just really was able to make that connection with the audience so fast. And then I said, you know what, let's work on something together. And in fact, I worked there for about 2 years before I asked him if he wanted to work on something together. And I had no idea that he had prior magic experience. And if you ever have seen Siegfried and Roy, Antonio was the little Roy. They used to shrink Roy down, and Antonio played the mini Roy.
Mm-hmm. That is awesome and very inspiring as a fellow little person.
Sure.
Mm-hmm. So now fast forward, fast forward into your career. How did you create the character of the Inventor?
So I try to invent all my own stuff. I try to be as different as possible from everyone else, and try to create a product that I'm the only place they can get it, and try to be as unique as possible. So that's just kind of my style. So when we started with the Illusionists, the producer said, so imagine that you were a superhero, and what would your superpowers be, right? It's got to be something that's kind of connected to your style of magic, because we want to create these like kind of nicknames for everybody, monikers. So, people were picking things like the trickster or the showman or whatever. And I thought, I try to be as different as possible. And why not the inventor? So, because I create all my own stuff and it just felt like a really big sandbox to play in. I could do all sorts of things. It wouldn't be too limiting. And it was different from what everyone else was doing. And so I just picked the inventor.
Solid. Now I'm gonna play my advertisement here real quick, so don't go anywhere.
Okay.
Don't disappear on me, you know? But a quick word from our sponsors at Harbor Ridge Golf Course. This Buddycast is brought to you by Harbor Ridge Golf Course. If you're in the Erie area looking to play a quick nine, sharpen your skills on the putting green or driving range, or looking to play playing golf while having some quality time with buddies, head over to Harbor Ridge at 3730 Harbor Ridge Trail. When you're finished, head over to the Harborview Grill to enjoy a good meal, some live music, a gorgeous view of Lake Erie, and some more good times. Call them today at 814-898-4653. Tell my buddy Adam that Buddy sent you. That was a word from our sponsors at Harbor Ridge Golf Course. If you're out there and you're looking to play some golf, by all means. And if you're ever in the area, do you like to golf, Kevin?
I tried it once and I was not very good at it. So I just kind of moved on.
Yep. I'm the same way. If the object of the game was to get the ball into the hole with as many strokes as possible, I'd be the next Tiger Woods, you know?
Yep.
So you mentioned you create your own tricks. Is that correct?
I do.
So what was the first trick you ever created?
Wow. Good question. That's a long time ago.
Mhm.
I started by just kind of changing existing things. Like trying to find new ways to use them, or reworking an idea to create something better. So it it doesn't start off with just like coming out of the block and creating something brand new from scratch.
Mhm.
So you start by just ex- um, yeah. So I think one of the first real ones was a trick that in fact I still do. Is it's a visual card in a balloon. So you have a card
Mm.
selected, and then you put it in the palm of your hand, and then hold it against a balloon, and you're looking through the balloon at the card in the palm of your hand, and then slowly you push, and the card swings down inside, and then spins by a corner, and then finally drops in, and you can hand it out.
Nice. Nice. What other
Yeah, it's
are
neat.
some what are yeah, oops, go ahead. I was
It's a
gonna
it's a really visual thing, and the great part is you can do it like even at a kid's birthday party, you can do it and right above the kids, and they can look up at the balloon and see it happen. Or it's good for a TV show because the camera can zoom right in tight, and so your face is in the shot with the action that's happening, and so it's good for a lot of uses.
brilliant. What are some of your other favorite tricks that you like to use on stage?
Well, I uh, I created a thing called the floating rose, which I like to do in the middle of the audience with a little girl with a handheld camera projected on a big screen. And when I create a routine, I try to figure out what's the emotional hook I'm trying to create with it. It's more about feeling than the trick itself. It's how does the audience feel when they experience this trick. So this particular routine is about the feeling that a little kid gets when magic happens.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's the feeling that you try to make all the adults feel also, is feeling like a kid again.
Mm-hmm.
So there's one moment in the routine where I have a little paper ball, and I'm trying to make it move, and finally it moves, and then I get a little girl right next to me, and she's right there. I get her to point her finger at it and concentrate, and she's wiggling and trying to make it move, and then it does move, and that's really the money shot. we were zoomed in on the action in her face. And when she makes it move, she really believes that she made it move. So she just lights up, and the whole audience, you just feel the electricity go through the crowd at that point. And then I
Right.
twisting it into a paper flower, and it floats and flashes into fire and changes into a real rose. So she gets a nice souvenir at the end. But it's that moment when she makes it move that's really the important bit.
Brilliant. Now that has me thinking, do you have any other feel good stories from your time doing magic, like a story that still touches your heart to this day with
You
maybe an
know,
audience reaction?
yeah, the snow has kind of evolved, where I make it snow on the audience.
Mm-hmm.
I talk about my first impression of snow as a kid, and then moving to Las Vegas, and none of the kids I knew here, kids of friends of mine, they had no idea what snow was like, and it just felt so. I felt sorry that they never got to play in it, and
Mm-hmm.
because I have such great memories of sledding with my grandparents in Michigan.
Mm-hmm.
So uh, I tell this story about a child's first impression of snow, and then and I used to just tell the story to the audience and make it snow. Well, what I do now is I invite. Um, I say, I usually end with it. So I say, this is the last thing we're going to do in the show, and it's kind of like a one last opportunity. Um, if you're a young person, like if you're 10 years old and younger, and you want to help on stage, now's your chance. Come on up. So the stage just you get 30 kids on stage. The first time I tried it this way was in Sofia, Bulgaria, at an arena show, and we had literally had 200 kids on stage. It was just
Wow.
like a wave, and I just, I'm standing on stage going, "Oh my God, what's going to happen?" Because I just keep seeing all these kids, swarm the stage, and it was exciting, but it was kind of, I kind of felt like, oh, we gotta put some guardrails up for this because we're gonna have kids falling off the stage and stuff. So basically, what I do is I get like 30 kids to sit down on the stage right in front of me, and I tell the story to them. And we have a handheld camera zooming in on their faces when I'm telling them the story. So now the audience is watching me talk to the kids, and so then when I start to make it snow on stage, their natural reaction is to just leap to their feet and just start playing it, which those are super nice shots also because that's the moment also that where they're experiencing that snow falling and they're trying to catch and save the snowflakes and play with them. It's just a real moment of joy. So, I mean, I've had people come up after the snow and because it makes you remember, maybe you don't remember your first time playing in snow as a kid, but it was great. And
Mm-hmm.
you probably have good memories of sledding or skiing or making snowmen or,
Mm-hmm.
snow angels, things like that, snowball fights. So if you came from an area where there is snow, chances are you have some good memories from that. So what it does is it makes you start to remember your own memories of and the joy of playing in snow, and then so it kind of sends you on your own personal experience in your mind. So
Nice.
so it's I've had people come up after the show saying, you made me cry with that snow because I
Mm,
heard all these good times.
nice. Well, coming from Erie, Pennsylvania, we're no stranger to snow. Trust me. When my parents brought me home from the hospital, it was a blizzard whiteout power outage.
Wow.
So, so I'm very used to it. I'm very like, hey. What I love is seeing states, areas like Las Vegas. You guys get like a dusting of snow. Everyone panic. Everyone's like,
once
whoa,
every
whoa.
once every 10 years. Yeah.
Yeah. But once you do, everyone like panics, like, hey, whoa, whoa, what's going on here? National emergency or something.
Yeah.
Erie gets 5 feet of snow higher than me. And
Yep.
it's still like, yeah, you're coming into work today, right? Or, yeah, school's still on. Yeah, school's
Right.
still on. Don't worry about it. I went to a high school where the saying was, if the headmaster can make it to school, so can you.
Yep.
The headmaster lived about like 5 feet away from campus.
Uh,
So if he couldn't make it to school compared to me, who lives like 5 miles away from campus. something
Hmm.
like that, then there's a little bit of a problem there, don't you think?
Yeah. Well, I remember sitting by the radio every morning going, "Oh, snow day, snow day,"
Yep.
waiting for him to call it.
Yep. So now, keeping it audience appropriate, we talked about feel good stories. What about a funny story?
Hmm. Wow. I was working. I had my own show at the Sheraton Hotel in Seoul, Korea, uh, and it was a big stage. And I was there on and off for about 3 years. And so, because it was such a big venue, um, I'm going to let you in on a little secret here. I had a secret airstream under the stage to
Hmm.
make it snow. Right,
Mm-hmm.
a hidden airstream, big blower under the stage, coming out of a little hole right at the front of the stage, and it helped make it look. It helped make it play really big because it was a tall proscenium. And so now it was normally set up like a dinner theater, so that you had these big tables like in the showroom, and but on the weekends they decided they wanted to uh, take out all the tables and invite these K-pop bands. The Korean pop music,
Mm-hmm.
teen music, or whatever. And they would invite these bands in to play, and they wanted me to, because my show was already sitting there. They said maybe you can do like one thing between the bands to kind of break it up and let them change and all that. I go, sure. So one of the times so now they took out all the tables and they pushed all the kids on the floor. So they're all standing up on the floor, pushed right against the front of the stage. So I decide I'm going to do the snow, and I'm there, and I've got a big handful of confetti, and it's the moment of truth. And the snow, the invisible airstream starts to go up, and I start to, put it into the airstream and make it snow, and it's looking pretty good. And then all of a sudden, my big snowstorm starts to turn into a little flurry, and I look down, and there's this, like, 14-year-old boy with his hand over the air, laughing his butt off, like, I'm stopping your trick, right? And I like look down at him, and I give him the heel in the back of my shoe, right on the back of his hand, and he's like, "Oh, jeez," and then I keep going, and it's snow, and so you know, I had to.
Yeah.
You have to step on a few hands sometimes, you know.
Oh, it's always the ones that like are the trickster, like the one kid at the birthday party that's always like, it's in his
Yeah,
front pocket or something like that. The one that everyone else is looking at you like, for your next trick, you can make him disappear, right? You
yeah.
know?
Well, this they had like a couple thousand people in there, and this one guy was like giving me a headache.
Yep. Uh, how many times have you had to deal with hecklers in your whole career?
Oh, it happens occasionally, not so much these days because uh, I don't give them too much of a chance
Mm-hmm.
to mess around. But in the early days, sure, it was a lot, and it was good training.
Yeah.
Learning how to get the audience on your side.
Mm-hmm. Or just learning how to power through, even when you have someone who's like, kind of like in comedy, the show has to go on, even if there's someone who's constantly talking your ear off or
Yeah,
trying to become the center of the attention. Just keep
sure,
going, just keep moving, you
sure.
know.
Give them a little attention, see if that works, and if not, then take
Hmm.
another tactic.
Yep. Main tactic: security.
Yeah.
So I want to ask you now: are there any other magic that you like to like maybe get your hands wet in more, like coin magic or like
Well,
favorite card tricks, stuff like that?
I started out doing close up just because I think everybody does, because that's what you have available, and it's you can't start off with the big stuff. Um, and I still love it. I love doing close up, and it was a good training grounds. And I still develop close up now, But normally, instead of thinking about, can I do this at a table in a restaurant or at a party, now I'm thinking about how is it going to look in the middle of an audience with a handheld camera projected on a big screen. So it's still developing close-up material, but just thinking of it in a different way. Like, how's it going to look on camera?
Nice. Which kind of brings up a quick follow-up question. How many hours off stage do you practice magic?
The actual practicing of working on sleights and moves, I don't do a whole lot of that. It's mostly now about developing, uh, theatrical situations that can make an audience feel a certain way, or sometimes I'll have a problem. Like, I'll be developing a part of a show, and I'll go, well, I've got to get from point A to point B, so now we have to create some sort of transition thing to get us from here to there, and or I've got a big TV show coming up, and I'm like, okay, so I need something really spectacular for this, and so what are we going to do? And so, usually it's to fill a certain need.
Nice. Nice. So now, do you have any upcoming shows or anything that you'd like to promote today?
Sure. Is this live or is this
Yep.
going to air later? Okay.
Yep, this is live.
Okay. So, well, I'm going to be with the Illusionists again. I think we're going to be coming through Pennsylvania
Ooh.
in November.
Ooh.
So we're going to be in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania on November 10th. Akron, Ohio is not too far, right?
Nope, not at all.
Yeah. So in Bethlehem, we're at the Wind Creek Event Center. Is that it?
Mhm.
November 13th will be in Akron, Ohio, with E.J. Thomas. November 17th will be in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania,
Love Philly.
at the Academy of Music. And then November 21st will be at Hershey, Pennsylvania, at the Hershey Theater.
Ooh, the sweetest place on earth.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you have a Hershey bar for me, or have a Kit Kat,
Yeah, I remember we stayed in a hotel there, and they had, like they've got scent machines, like in sometimes in bathrooms where it's like
Mhm.
a citrus smell or whatever. They had chocolate
Nice.
in the
Nice.
hallways of the hotel rooms.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep, that's Hershey, PA. So I have two more questions for you.
Sure.
The first one is brought to us by our buddy Jonas Kane at #Positivity. He wants to know, in your own words, what does it mean to be someone's buddy?
Yeah, I think just someone that you can feel so comfortable with. You can just kind of let your guards down and just be yourself.
Nice. Brilliant answer. And the final question we have is what we call the ultimate Buddycast buddy question. You ready for this one?
Yep.
This one's brought to us by our buddies at Harbor Ridge Golf Course. And they want to know, for anyone out there who wants to be a magician, what is your advice to them?
Sure. There we go. Okay. So sometimes I hear magicians answer this question. They say, "Don't do it. Whatever you do, don't do it." So, but
Mhm.
I don't feel that way. I feel if you were meant to do it, you're going to do it no matter what I say. So, and I was like that. If somebody said, "Don't do it," I'd say, "Yeah, screw you. You don't know what's inside me. I'm going to do it anyway."
Mhm.
And I say, live it with no regrets. Go for it 110%. The one thing that I would have changed, the one thing that would have saved me some time, would be to so going to college, I studied theater, but I wish I would have double majored in business. So
Mm.
theater and business, you need them both if you're going to be a
Mhm.
success.
Mhm.
And I had to learn the business part the hard way.
Mm. I was about to say, how's the business end of it like play into or so?
Yeah, so it's I would have done myself a big favor if I would have double majored in business.
Mhm. Mhm. Well, buddy, thank you so much for stopping here on Buddycast. Thanks for being a buddy. You're not a guest on the show. You're a buddy. So thanks for
Thank
being a buddy on Buddycast. And before we end the show, I have one favor to ask you. Whatever you do today, tomorrow, next week, next month, even next year, please go be someone's buddy. Think you'd do that for me?
That's a good plan.
Alrighty. For all my buddies out there, this is my buddy Kevin James, the inventor. Please, if the Illusionists are in your area, please catch them. You won't be disappointed. I'm your host, Nick Sorensen. We'll catch you all next time here on everybody's favorite show, Buddycast.
Well, the days are going fast, buddy, we've got to make them last, buddy, before they've all gone past, buddy, tune in to Buddycast. But don't be nutty, go make it, buddy, here on Buddycast.